So we just got done watching the kill count for the 1982's The Thing, and I figured, what the hell, let's dive into the 2011 prequel, which James said he may do or he may not do, and turns out he did. So, yeah, I'm interested to see what he's got to say about this. I know, okay, I felt like the 2011 prequel was a disappointment compared to the 1982 one, because 1982 one is what many would consider a masterpiece. 2011 prequel, when I originally heard about it, I was like, oh god, this isn't going to be good. Then I saw the first preview for it, I'm like, okay, this might be alright. And then I heard that a lot of people who worked on the original film actually consulted on this. I'm like, okay, maybe. And then it came out, I was like, oh, no. Yeah. And then over time, I'm just like, could have been worse. Yeah, about right here. I still give it like a 5, maybe 6 out of 10, whereas I give the original like a 9 or a 10 out of 10. I mean, it's...
Yeah, I give the original a 10 out of 10, and that one probably more like a 5.5 or 6.
Yeah, it's not terrible, but honestly, it's just a missed opportunity. What about you, Mike? I mean, did you watch this? And
I have, but I don't really remember enough about it to say. I mean,
that's one thing a lot of people say, is that they don't remember a lot of what happens. And truthfully,
it's not a great thing, because that means it's not a memorable film. Right.
Yeah, which I understand the reasoning behind the thought process of that. I see this and I think to myself, I remember like thinking to myself, what happened in this part? I don't remember. What happened in that part? I don't remember. I remember pretty much step for step, verbatim what happened in the 1982 version.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, but and in this, the only characters I really remember are Mary Elizabeth Winstead and Joel Egerton, because I know both of them as actors and I like both of them as actors. But in this, it's just like everyone else just falls way laid to the side, and you don't remember any of them. Like you don't remember. Okay, in the first Thing film, you would say the two main characters are MacReady and Windows, right? Okay, now outside of that, you remember a lot of the other side characters. You remember Knowles. You remember Windows. You remember I have like all their names in the back of my head. It's just now I'm trying to name them, and my brain's just like.
You said MacReady and Windows.
MacReady and Windows were the two main characters.
Shit, though.
There's Mac.
Yeah, the guy that survives with him at the end.
Not Windows. That's Mac
Childs?
and Childs.
Childs.
Sorry, there's Mac, Windows, Childs.
Yeah, because Windows
Knowles.
seemed like he could have been sort of a mainish character until all of a sudden he got cut short.
Yeah, and there's just a lot of, you remember pretty much all the characters in that. You remember, if you don't remember their names by then, but you at least remember something about them, like the dog handler, the secondary scientist, the radio operator, the station head, the the cook. You remember all of their stuff. Everyone in this just sort of blends together. It's just like there's no defining characteristics. It's just like, oh, random Norwegian number 5, random Norwegian number 10. Okay, so what's the deal? What's going to happen? Okay. Who is this character? Oh, what's his name? Sven Karlsson, or some Nordic name? Okay. Okay, and what about this guy? Another Nordic name. Okay. What do they do? Who knows? Who knows?
Maybe it would be a more memorable movie if we lived in, like, Scandinavia.
In the Norwegian
We're more
country.
used to those sorts of names and could, they just stood out to us more.
Well, no, and that's not me saying that all Norwegian names sound the same. I mean, hell.
Well, even with the original, though, like, their names that they actually had were not that common.
That's true. I mean, the most common one I can think of is, like, MacReady.
Yeah.
In which that's just, like, Scotch-Irish. That's like a basic Scots-Irish name.
Whereas, like, Windows is, like, a nickname that's, like, very unique.
Mac is also a nickname. And, but, yeah. And then there's Norris. Norris, which is, every time someone says Norris, immediately, you know what pops up in my mind?
Chuck.
Yeah. The Chuck Norris.
Chuck fucking.
Chuck fucking Norris. Yeah, middle name fucking. Even though he'll just be like, no, he'll be like, no, don't say that. Because he's.
I feel sorry for Norris.
God.
It's like the second joke Mike has made today after I said something about fucking.
Hope Chuck asked his permission.
For
God. Hey, you know what? You know what it probably was? It was probably a roundhouse. Like, Chuck Norris was probably in the room and did a roundhouse kick to the chest, and that's what gave him a heart attack. And he's just like, what? And then all of a sudden, Norris is just like,
Indeed.
Yeah, so there you go. So, and I wonder if that's why the Thing wanted to get away, because it knew Chuck Norris was there secretly, just hiding up in the rafters like a cat, like an angry tiger ready to pounce. And it
haven't seen what I've seen.
And it tried to assimilate Chuck Norris, but Chuck Norris actually tried to assimilated it a little bit.
Yeah.
And it actually started to like sprout hair randomly.
The Thing from 1982's The Thing tried to assimilate Chuck Norris, but instead Chuck Norris assimilated The Thing.
God of mercy. All right, well, let's get the video on screen and let's see what James has got to say about this one.
Welcome to the Kill Count, where we tally up the victims in all our favorite
Oh,
movies.
he's got another dog.
I'm James A. Janice, and today we're looking at the 2011 prequel to The Thing, also called The Thing. Don't know why they use the same title, but yeah. It tells the story of the research team at the Norwegian base found decimated by Kurt Russell and co. in the 1982 John Carpenter film. How they came across the alien thing, how it infiltrated their crew, and how it led to that real handsome dog wolf running across the Antarctic expanse in the original. And I know the 1982 movie is a remake of the 50s movie, but I'll be calling it the original for simplicity's sake. Carpenter's version is also my favorite horror movie, so I was real curious to see what this prequel had in store. The good thing is that it painstakingly adheres to continuity with the original, showing exactly how everything wound up the way it was when Outpost 31's crew found it. The bad thing is the CG, especially since one of the most impressive things about the original was the incredible practical effects. But practical or CG, at least this movie still got a fair number of kills. Let's find out how many and get to them.
All right.
The movie begins with sweeping shots of the Antarctic landscape, and just like that, I'm excited as hell, because this place is such a good setting for a horror movie. It's 1982, and a trio of Norwegians are taking a snowcat to locate the source of a mysterious signal they've detected. In the back is Olav, handling all the radio equipment, and up front is Peter, the second-in-command at the Norwegian Thule station, and Lars, who's driving the snowcat, and who we later find out is the only one who doesn't speak or understand any English. They stop the snowcat when they're right on top of the signal, and then the ground opens up below them and sends them crashing down a CGI crevasse. They wind up in a pretty tight spot and turn their lights on to reveal a spaceship and a title card, The Thing. Again, why the hell does it have the same name, man? We briefly leave Antarctica for a Jurassic Park type.
Well, you can't really call it The Thing Returns or something like that. What would you call it?
I mean, I don't know.
The Thing Origins or something.
Yeah, Origins.
Thing Genesis.
The Thing, The Thing Genesis.
Yeah, something
maybe
like
that would work. Yeah, like you could do that Dissolve, and then right below, and like Blood Red, Genesis.
Yeah,
and not Terminator.
The beginning of The Thing.
and not stupid Terminator Genesis with the Y. Yeah. Just Genesis. Okay.
Scene with a paleontologist being recruited for a special mission. The paleontologist is Kate Lloyd, played by Mary Elizabeth Winstead, and the John Hammond to her Alan Grant is Dr. Sander Halvorsen. He tells her a Norwegian team has found a structure and a specimen buried in Antarctica. That's enough to get her to sign up for the mission, even though she's unable to get any more info out of Halvorsen or his research assistant, Adam Finch, played by Eric Christian Olsen from Not Another Teen Movie. We're still in that let's introduce the fucked up characters phase right now, so bear with me, folks. Kate Halvorsen and Adam are flown into Antarctica by an American helicopter crew consisting of the sleepy snoring Griggs, the pilot Derek, played by Adewale Akinoye Agbaje, and the ringleader of the crew, Carter, played by Joel Edgerton, whose career has been shining real bright lately. Carter is kind of our substitute back in this movie, which I guess makes him a whopper. They land at Thule Station and immediately board a snowcat that takes them to the excavation site, where they meet Edvard.
It's almost as difficult to pronounce as Giannis Atente Quinumpo.
But I've got to admit that the characters in this movie don't stand out to me nearly as much as the cast of the original. The spaceship looks alright, though, as Edvard shows it to the dumbfounded newcomers. Y'all think that's impressive? Get a load of what they found outside encased in ice. A freaking alien. It's perfectly preserved in there, so Halvorsen immediately wants to dig it out and play with it. As night falls, they head back to Thule Station to talk to the others there about the best way to bring back their mint condition thing. We meet more of the crew, like Jonas, played by notorious bearfucker Christopher Hippie. This scene is mostly just
I forgot he was in this.
Yeah, I did too.
It's awesome. Dope ass beard.
I didn't know who he was when I saw this.
Same here.
The next morning,
because this was before I think he was on Game of Thrones,
riding atop the giant ice block.
Game of Thrones.
They put it right where we find it in the original. But this baby's still a block right now, not a cozy ice tub. Adam and Jonas reflect upon the discovery of alien life.
I never believed in this shit. I always did.
But Halverson is just
I believe that.
Playtime,
I believe that, Tormund.
Tissue sample. He and Edvard are taken aback when Kate questions the wisdom of doing so, bringing up issues of sterilization and whatnot. So Halverson takes her to the back and reprimands her for speaking up with thoughts of her own.
In the future, don't contradict me in front of those people again.
His superiority established, they drill into the ice and put the tissue sample in a petri dish. One giant leap for science kind. Which of course means it's a good time to get drunk. Everyone celebrates the discovery, not knowing that in the other room, the ice containing their alien specimen is melting. Halverson tries to give a long-winded and poetic speech, but the crew is much more receptive to Peter's more straightforward proclamation and breaks out into a fun little Norwegian folk song. After stopping to go to the little Echoes room, Derek checks in on the big old ice block and sees that it's more of a slush cube. As he leaves, the alien breaks free, busting out the block and flying through the ceiling. Derek runs back and tells everyone the alien broke out, so they all gather around the newly created ice tub for one last group shot before these characters start to die. They break up into groups to search the entire camp, and in the kennel, they find that Lars's dog has been killed. Wouldn't be a Thing movie without a dead dog, right? But even worse is what another pair finds underneath one of the buildings. It's a nasty-looking thing, and it's assimilating that dog. Before you know it, the thing shoots out a tentacle straight through this dude Henrik's back, which becomes like a grappling hook and pulls him back. And this is what I mean by the characters being less memorable. Henrik was so unremarkable, I didn't even introduce him to you before just now. Seems like he was just there to add another body to the kill count. The others gather around while Henrik gets nommed on, and when gunfire doesn't do anything to stop the thing, Derek yells for them to burn it, which they quickly do despite Dr. Halverson's protest. The thing's crab claws try to Mike Tyson's punch out of the burning building, but it's too late and it burns to death. Aw, lost your toy, Halverson? Sorry. Halverson really stresses the importance of science when he asks the others if he can examine the remains, but everyone else is pretty against messing with Thing stuff anymore.
I think you should destroy it completely.
But Halverson uses the friendship card and sways Edvard, who tells his men to bring the charred corpse inside. What follows is an autopsy scene quite similar to the one in John Carpenter's film, and it's one of a few times in this movie where it's difficult to say whether it's an homage to or a copy of the original. But hey, at least this scene uses practical effects. Enjoy it while you can, because we're about to be getting computer generated real soon. They find Henrik's body encased in a sack, and Kate notes that it'd be looking pretty fresh.
Tissue looks almost new.
Looks like the thing was absorbing Henrik. Pretty gross, but I bet Halverson finds it fascinating.
It is fascinating.
I mean, yeah, you ain't wrong. Separate from that fresh, fascinating body, they find a titanium plate. Carl confirms Henrik had one in his arm from a previous injury, but Kate brings up a good question and asks why the plate is outside of his body now. She takes a tissue sample to examine, and we trade in the original's cheap 80s computer graphics for mid-grade 2010s CG computer graphics, as Kate and Adam discover that the alien cells are attacking and transforming into human cells.
They're imitating his cells.
Dun dun dun. Now, we're 40 minutes into the movie, and these characters are just discovering what we've known this whole time, and I honestly can't decide whether to commend the movie's patience or get frustrated by the slowness of it. In any case, things pick up the next morning when a very sick Olav leaves with the American chopper team to go get some medical help. In the bathroom, Kate discovers two important things. First, some bloody dental fillings on the ground, and then a shower full of blood. Knowing someone has been thingified, she runs outside and flags down Carter to stop anyone from leaving the base. But as Carter begins to drop that bird, Olav starts shaking. But turns out that's just a red herring, because Griggs is the thing, and holy shit, that CG looks real bad, man.
Yeah,
Oof.
it does.
Oh no, shit. Thing no! He stands up and Twizzlers come out of his chest, right into Olav, which kills him off screen. Oh man, that does not look good. What a letdown. Sorry you couldn't have been killed by OG Thing, Olav. Kate and Edvard watch as the helicopter spins out of control and crashes behind a mountain range. They can't go out to look for them because their only other chopper is refueling at another base. And it turns out the radio's dead too. Wait, who's this guy? What, another nothing character? Yeah, his name's Colin. He's English.
Radio's dead. He's fucking dead.
Kate goes back to the water closet and finds a freshly cleaned shower stall, meaning a Thing person must still be at the base. Edvard finally tells Halverson to go fuck himself so they can bring in outside help, but Kate tells them nobody should leave, which pisses off Edvard.
I make decisions about this camp.
I know, Edward.
Yeah, she knows Edvard. She tells everyone there the other things she knows too. The replicating cells, the dental fillings she found on the ground, and the case of the mysterious bloody shower. But Edvard ignores her anyway and takes Colin and Lars to leave. Ugh, I wish these people acted as rationally as the characters in the original. Juliet offers to help Kate by showing her the keys to the base's vehicles, but when Kate is looking through a drawer for them, Juliet begins to transform right behind her. We can put Juliet on the list since she's a confirmed thing, and while their transformation is mostly CGI, it doesn't look all that bad. I can get down with this one. It's way better than Griggs and his face cracking. it.
Yeah.
Kate runs away, and the Langolier-looking thing chases after her, running straight into Carl and impaling him through the chest with one of its claws. Sorry, Carl, but hey, at least he had a few lines before he died. Peter dons a flamethrower, and Kate opens the door so they can watch for a little bit Juliet thing feed on Carl in a strangely erotic way. Peter torches the thing, and despite it attempting to put itself out in the kitchen, he perseveres and successfully puts it down with the flames. They toss the bodies in a pile and burn them all up, and Kate gives a speech pretty much exactly like Max from the original.
Could be any of us.
Oh well, maybe that's it for things it takes from the original.
So we take blood samples from everybody, and we test each one of them.
Come on! They determine no one
Yeah.
someone could be a thing just like Juliet was, so Lars and the real girl disable all the vehicles, and he also shows her a secret stash of grenades. Handy. On their way inside, they spot a couple of figures limping towards the camp. Turns out that Derek and Carter survived the helicopter crash, which Peter finds unbelievable for any human being, so he wants to burn them without a trial. Kate convinces him to instead quarantine them while the science shit gets underway. But oh no, looks like there's a fire and all the science shit is burning up. It's an obvious case of arson, so you know what that means. Saboteur! Colin tries to get himself more screen time by accusing Adam of being the guilty party, but before a full fight breaks out, Kate interrupts them.
There might be another way.
So yeah, they don't actually do another blood test. Thank fuck, since all this copying from the original was making this movie feel like The Thing awakens. Their alternative to the blood test is to check for fillings. Metal in your mouth means you ain't no thing, since things can't replicate inorganic material, judging by that titanium rod found outside of Henrik and the dental fillings found on the bathroom floor. The interesting thing about this blood test alternative is that it can provide false positives, as Adam points out.
I'm gonna get killed because I floss.
At the end of the test, only Peter, Jonas, Kate, and Lars are for sure human. The potential things are Halverson, Edvard, Adam, and Colin. Kate tells Jonas and Lars to go get the Americans so they can test them too, but when they get there, they find the Americans missing, having escaped captivity through the floor. Lars runs off to find them, but gets pulled into a building as Jonas watches. Edvard and Halverson are upset about the recent shift in power, so they try to convince Peter, armed with a flamethrower, that the threat is the Americans outside, not his Norwegian bros inside. Jonas arrives with the news that the Americans escaped and took Lars, but all the screaming and shouting is put on pause when they hear a window break. It was the Americans breaking in, and Carter's sporting a flamethrower of his own. When Edvard goes Mad King and tells Peter to burn them all, Derek whips out Lars's gun and shoots Peter right through the head in self-defense. Huh, that seems really familiar. Where have I seen that before?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah! The bullet also pierced Peter's flamethrower, so that whole thing blows up and tosses Edvard across the room, knocking him unconscious. Carter and Derek take control of the situation and have Jonas and Colin help Edvard into the rec room, but while they're carrying him, his hand slips out of his shirt and becomes a thing arm! It slips a few fingers down Jonas's throat as Edvard sprouts a tentacle that whips around the room. It eventually impales Adam through the chest, and as he screams for help, the others take shelter behind a pool table. Derek tries to shoot the thing to death, but also gets impaled through the chest. There's a lot going on here, but I always like to count the deaths in order, and technically, the first one for me is Adam. Edvard thingifies further into a Doom 3 monster, then climbs on top of Adam. The Edvard head snuggles up next to Adam's, and the two begin to merge, ending Adam's life as they become the two-headed thing found in the original. That thing, sometimes known as Splitface, crawls away, and the next to go on the count is Jonas, who's been getting face-fucked by that thing arm this whole time. Ha, a detachable hand running around on its own. Kind of like the one from the Adams.
Tormund never fucked the bear.
No, I forget. Anyway, Kate tortures both of them, and that's that. Finally, Derek succumbs to his chest wound as Carter tends to him, giving us yet another kill from this scene to add on the list. Carter leaves the room and leaves Kate to flame on. The two of them team up to go thing hunting, and during their search, the movie decides that it's done pretending Colin is a real character, and we see him alive for the last time, hiding in a radio room. Dr. Halverson is also hiding, but since he is a real character, he's not forgotten so quickly. The thing tracks him down and charges after him, killing him just off screen on the ground. Always a bummer when you don't see the villainous character killed more explicitly. After hearing Halverson's screams, Kate and Carter are attacked by more thing arms, but they stop them using a fire axe and Kate's trusty flamethrower. Carter's axe is right where Mac and Copper would find it in the original, so Kate's all like,
Don't touch it.
we need to leave it for continuity. They look around some more before Splitface jumps out and attacks Carter. Carter runs away and hides in the kitchen for another scene that makes me think of Jurassic Park. Not sure which I'd rather fight, a thing or a velociraptor. When the thing finds Carter, it howls at him and charges him, but Kate appears just in time to light it ablaze. It crashes through the wall in a shot referencing both the Carpenter movie and the 50s version and lands outside. Kate follows through and torches it further, finally putting an end to it in the same place Mac and Copper would find it later. They see a snowcat take off, and driving it is Halverson, who they correctly assume is a thing. They somehow fix one of the other snowcats and start her up to give chase, Kate bringing along one of those grenades that Lars had shown her earlier. Hey, speaking of him...
What happened to Lars?
We didn't kill him.
Oh, okay. Any other info, or no? Okay, cool. Kate also looks at Carter carefully and likes something she sees. I'll give you a hint. It's the earring in his ear. They follow Halverson thing to the buried spaceship, which starts up as they're walking on top of it. A bunch of vents start opening, eventually catching up to Kate, who slides down one and is separated from Carter, who remains topside. She wakes up inside the ship and finds a bunch of whirly thingamajigs, then goes deeper into the ship to find the dumbest looking part of this movie, this big old pillar of pixels. No, seriously, look at this thing. It's like they designed some kind of power supply for the ship, but the effects didn't render properly. While Kate is marveling given just how stupid this thing looks, Elverson thing appears behind her and is like, how about more stupid-looking things? You know what, movie? We're good, really. We don't need... Okay, sure, thanks. I mean, anything you can do about that awful-looking face? Okay, to the vagina it is. While the vagina dentata thing chases Kate, I'm left wondering two things. First, is this the thing's true form? And second, why show the thing's true form? It drags her out of hiding and is ready to kill her, but she throws a grenade right into its mouth. Carter shows up just in time to watch the fireworks show. I, of course, don't count things on the kill count, so we can just enjoy this death without any kill graphics. The explosion winds up being destructive enough to shut down the ship, which is great news for Carter and Kate, because, man, they must be tired. Carter says there's a Russian station 50 miles away and that they have just enough gas to get there. But as they're getting ready to leave, Kate pauses at something she sees. She takes the flamethrower and points it at Carter and tells him how she's been making sure he's a human this whole time.
Your earring. It was your other ear.
Oh, Carter thing, you done fucked up. He tries to talk his thing way out of it, but she won't back down. She lets loose with the flamethrower, and the pretty cool slow-motion torching is accompanied by dinosaur sound and thing noises, confirming to Kate and the audience that she was right. Sorry, Carter thing, so close. Kate climbs into the other snowcat and stares out the window as the screen fades to black, her fate left ambiguous. Intercut with the credits is a nice little segment that changes the movie from The Thing Awakens into Rogue One, a thing store. The other helicopter returns to Thule Station from its refueling mission, and pilot Matthias gets out to find things not quite as he left them. He shouts for help, but nobody's around, and we see inside that Colin has committed suicide by slitting his throat and his wrist with a straight razor, his blood freezing over into the same strands Mac and Copper will find very shortly. Lars emerges with a gun and checks Matthias' mouth, and although he finds him clear, they watch as a familiar dog thing bolts out of the station and takes off across the snow. The two of them hop back into the helicopter and chase after it, Lars leaning out the side of the chopper to shoot at it. Interesting cliffhanger. I wonder if they'll ever make a sequel. In the meantime, let's count up our dead and get to the numbers.
Nice
13
pirouette,
people
James.
died in the Thing prequel, one more than in the original. The gender breakdown was 12 dudes and 1 lady, a scotch more diversity than the original's all-dude Vic list. At a runtime of 102 minutes, that comes out to a kill on average every 7.85 minutes. I'll give the golden chainsaw for coolest kill to Juliet. Her background transformation is a cool moment in the film.
Yes.
And although it's obviously CG, it doesn't look downright awful. Dual machete for lamest kill will go to Derek, who just got tentacle stabbed and died from blood loss. Could have done more with that one thing. And that's
All the
it.
CG
Thing
had to
prequel
look as
came
good
out
as
in
her. I think I
2011
could have
and
let
remains
it
the
slide
only
a
feature
little
film
bit
that's
more. Maybe
directed
like
ever
a
made.
7 or an 8
One day
out
I'll
of
make a
10.
video
Yeah.
comparing the Thing movies, but for now, I've got a comment response video for you on Monday, and on Friday, the next kill count, It 2017. Until then, I'm James A. Janice. This has been the Kill Count. Thanks a lot.
Well, no, I agree with you there 100%. If it were that good, if it were as good as that.
Yeah, I mean, or better.
Well, if
Like,
it were,
maybe if they redid it now, like nowadays, like, CG's is just getting better.
of course, yeah, the uncanny valley is shrinking more and more. I don't think it'll ever go away, but
I mean, last few horror movies I've seen, like, that I saw noticeable CG in, like, it was still pretty, like,
yeah,
it's like I would rather they not have done that.
True. That's like for me. I can't get over practical. Practical to me, I know it's more difficult to pull off, and in some cases, some people say it's more expensive. But to me, practicality, it doesn't leave anything to the imagination. It's all there, and I think Christopher Nolan does the best with CG, because there's still an anchor point there in reality where he shows where if he's going to add CG to something, it's something that is actually physically there, but the CG is added onto it, or the CG enhances it in some way.
Yeah.
That I like a lot. Whereas what we got here for the most part was just CG they thought would be creepy. And yeah, to the untrained eye, maybe so, but for experienced moviegoers and movie watchers like us, we're just sitting here just like, tilting our heads just like, did they think this would be actually scary?
It's like the fucking horrible mannequin creature from Silent Hill 2. Like, they thought, apparently, they were going to make up their own Silent Hill creature and for fun, I guess, or something.
Oh, is that the
they
Silent...
failed horribly.
Yeah, the Silent Hill, the terrible one.
Yeah, like there were mostly creatures in the first Silent Hill film, or all creatures in the first Silent Hill film, that were actually in the games.
Yeah.
And the CG was not bad on them.
Yeah, the CG. Well, a lot of
that
the stuff was
they were
practical.
like, oh, what if we take these mannequins and make them into our own mannequin creature? Probably after, like, you know, talking about doing the patient demon from Silent Hill 2 or something like that instead.
Maybe, yeah.
Like, why don't we make our own, you know? And it's like, yeah, that's a good idea. And it's just like, everybody who's a fan of Silent Hill season, they're just like,
what is
fuck
this?
that?
Yeah, I agree. And personally,
That looks like shit.
well, you see, original monsters in horror films nowadays, I'd say probably the one that they do now is called from It Follows. Have you ever seen it?
I know I've heard good things about it. My buddy that got me into horror movies originally has told me several times I need to watch it, actually.
Yeah, It Follows is actually really good, and the monster in It Follows is one that, unless you are the one who is afflicted, you can't see them.
Yeah.
And the one who is afflicted doesn't know that it's, like, most of the time doesn't know that it's what, you know, the shape that the form is taken, that it's taken is actually a monster. Instead, it looks like someone. It can take the form of a random person, and that random person is just walking straight towards you. And there's actually scenes in it where there's a scene where someone is walking towards the characters in the background, but yet you don't know if they were just walking towards them or if they were actually, like, walking somewhere that was in that general vicinity. And it actually makes you think, in every scene that you see, a person if there's someone walking towards them, is that it? Yeah, is that it? Is that the thing that's going to kill them? Is that the monster? And I love that. I love that idea. And it's a really well executed film. And I'd like for you all to see it sometime if you all are interested.
Yeah, I still need to watch it eventually.
Yeah.
The last, like, CG, or not CG, but what I was going to say was the last creature in a film that I thought was, like, an original thing that I really liked was actually Bagul from Sinister. And
that was good.
I didn't watch the second one because of the fact that one of the reasons I liked him so much in the first one is he was barely shown the whole time. It was very short glimpses of him, and it was one of those things where you got such a short glimpse of him that you either had to pause it and frame for frame to get a good look at him, or your imagination filled in the rest. And so he was creepy as fuck for that reason.
Yeah.
And then I could tell by the previews from the second one that he got way more screen time in the second one, and so I just never watched it.
He did, and
want to
honestly,
ruin him for myself, you know.
And honestly, that's one thing about it that killed the second film for me. I liked it. It was still good. You know, it was still James Wan.
Yeah.
But it was still not as good as it could have been.
Yeah.
But
it's like the whole, like, Mama movie or whatever, like, everybody was like, oh, it's so creepy. And I'm like, the second they put her on the screen and I could tell she was sticking around for more than 30 seconds, I was fucking unsold on the whole movie. Like,
yeah.
She looked awful.
Well,
like, shittiest CG creature. Like, I was like, if you're gonna CG a creature like that, you can't just have her hanging out on the screen for like 10 minutes at a time. You know,
that's a lot like The Grudge, because The Grudge. Me and my dad, when we went and watched The Grudge, the American film, not Ju-On, the original Japanese version.
With The Grudge.
Yeah, but The Grudge,
Sarah Michelle Gellar.
Yeah, I watched it, and I gotta be honest, with my dad there providing commentary with me, it was absolutely hilarious. I'm sorry.
See, I watched it with my sister, who is easily freaked out and doesn't watch horror movies, and I thought it was fucking terrifying. But I'm also just, like, you know, when I think of things that actually freak me out and creep me out, Japanese horror is just fucking up there.
Well, Japanese horror is good.
So,
I mean,
and it's
they do
different
really
for
well with
everybody,
it.
so.
Well, there's actually that's why I'm so pissed that Silent Hills wasn't a thing, because the guy that they were getting to design the monsters with Del Toro was actually a famous Japanese horror. Like, some of his artwork is actually, like, ugh. Just thinking about it gets me, because there's one where it's pretty much this guy's head. He's laying down on the ground, and his head extends into, like, a gigantic centipede. It's like, oh. It's some really weird, surrealistic shit. And
sounds kind of like the second kind of head-bursting creature that comes out in Resident Evil 4, not the first one with the whip.
Oh,
like
yeah,
the
one that can nom your head off, yeah. You remember those. Yeah, I remember, I think it was like Halloween 2017, He played through Resident Evil 4. and that was-
Flash bangerang.
Yeah.
I've played Resident Evil 4 as recently as like 2 or 3 days ago.
Yeah, and I remember that was actually the introduction of the now semi-famous phrase, "Don't make me turn this president's daughter around."
Yeah.
I feel like Resident Evil owes a lot to the thing.
It does. It does.
That's
I'm
kind
not
of what
gonna
I
lie.
was
In a good way.
thinking is like some of these things that they're showing, the transformations look a lot like some of the like virus transformations, like especially like William Birkin and shit. You know
Yeah,
how,
like the
at
G
end,
virus.
whenever like his chest opens up and becomes like his head, and like it's got the fucking ribs. that-
Ultra body horror like that, I think, does definitely lend itself a lot of imagination to the thing, especially the original.
Yeah, but at the same time, there are also some pretty old, like real fucked up body horror Japanese movies as well. So,
Well, true.
I don't know how old Tetsuo is, but I know like the Japanese have been doing that sort of separately from the thing, but I don't know for how long. So I don't know if they watched the thing and came up with that, or if they've also came up with that on their own. So who knows?
Tetsuo,
actually
you
look up the
mean
dates.
Akira?
No, Tetsuo, like the Iron Man or whatever.
Oh, Tetsuo the Iron Man. Okay, it was 1988, so it turns out it was
actually
6 years after.
Okay.
It was 6 years after. the
Yeah,
thing.
very well could have been expired to an extent from the
Well,
thing.
no, taking inspiration is always a good thing as long as you make it your own. You see, I guarantee you, John Carpenter, he's had moments where he's actually talked about his inspirations and stuff like that. I mean, hell, Tarantino borrows so much from like spaghetti westerns and borrows also from like Japanese samurai films in a lot of ways, and he puts his own spin onto it and it becomes his. And you see, that's good. That's him being a good artist. That's him paying tribute, but at the same time making sure he's able to stand on his own. I mean, yeah, there you go. So that's my 2 cents on the whole thing. All right, well,
Just where it's in black and white on all these pictures, like I forgot about that. It's just
what is it?
Tetsuo. Like the shit from it just looks so creepy to me. Like, 'cause it's just so like,
Yeah,
not,
he's
not that fake looking. You know what I mean? Like, even though it looks fake as hell, technically, like it's not something that would exist. It's just the black and white for some reason just makes it look fucking real.
yeah. But all right, I guess that's gonna do it for this one, ladies and gentlemen. This was The Thing 2011 prequel kill count by Dead Meat, Mr. James A. Janice. As always, my friend, you do killer work. And if you want to check out the original video, link is in the description down below. And I guess that's going to do it. So until next time, signing off, I'm Nate.
Micah.
Nick.
And we'll see you in the next one, everybody. Peace out.